You do.
Mate, why is he so late like Arsenal?
They always arrive late in it. 90th minute.
Not even.
Aubameyang! Arsenal 2, Aston Villa 2. All right, let's do this. Hi guys, welcome to the Blue Ballers podcast. We got an hour of pure footballery on the cast today. I got my brother with me. Say hello.
Hello.
And it's a special episode because I've got my best mate on the podcast to have a good chat about Arsenal with us. Vikrant, say hello.
Hi guys.
Good lad. I'd imagine post-match, after a poor or average result, you'd be upset like most of us are. I certainly was on Tuesday. Turn FIFA on and play against the same team, so Southampton, switch it to amateur mode and win flipping 76-0. So now I've given you an outlet to air it all out verbally, and maybe in a year from now, when Arsenal are flying at the top of the league, the Championship League, you can look back and say, oh, you know what, that wasn't too bad.
Did you just say the Championship League?
I thought I'd start on a light note.
Oh, okay, the Championship League. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is how it's going to be for the whole hour. Okay.
No. But to be fair, I'm getting it all out at the start so that we don't have to keep going on about how horrendous it's been recently. But no, we'll get into it.
Okay.
But yeah, so I wanted to, before we kind of talk about the present, I wanted to get to know a bit about your background, your association with Arsenal, why Arsenal, what got you into Arsenal, what reassured you that this was going to be a choice that you make for the rest of your life with no regrets.
Okay. So I didn't really have much of a choice to begin with. So I was born about 5 minutes away from the stadium. So I lived there for the first 15 years of my life. Now, we didn't really have much of a choice in terms of who we supported because Arsenal was the closest club. And if you were Tottenham, you were basically going to get beaten up. So it was Arsenal or don't watch football. So I haven't really much of a choice. But luckily, the good thing was that when I first started properly watching football and getting into it was when Arsenal was sort of quote unquote in their prime. So I saw like the glory days with Bergkamp, Henry, Robert Pires, and like the near the Invincibles time is probably just about when I started really getting into football.
Yeah. So Wenger brought you into football, and that was all you knew at the time, basically.
Yeah, I couldn't even name you the first 11 of any other team in the league. All I knew was Arsenal. That's all I paid attention to.
Yeah. I think that was the same for most of us growing up as well, because there were in such a good moment. Obviously, like 96 was when Wenger came in and kind of transformed English football. We started to get to know the players as they grew with Wenger as well. Thierry Henry to me will always be the guy that stands out when I think of strikers that not associated with my club, but who I thought were the greatest of all time. Guys like Henry and Bergkamp and all these guys. So, I mean, it's not a bad choice. A few years down the line, it's not obviously been the same as it used to be. But I think that the kind of obvious question that I have nowadays is, when Wenger started to kind of go the other way and it started to get a bit tough for Arsenal fans, how do you kind of compare that to when Arsenal aren't doing so well now, whether it's Emery or Arteta? Like, how do you compare it? Do you feel better about? I don't want to kind of put a down on it, but do you feel better about losing now, or did it hurt more when it was with Wenger?
See, so for me, and you may not agree with this, and I can completely understand why, but for me, it's sort of the evil that is better in a way. So at least when we had Wenger and he sort of towards the tail end, there was some sort of affection there still for him. There was some sort of care still for him because he'd given us so many good moments over my lifetime. I can name you 10, 15, 20 times where I've been ecstatic because Arsenal have done well, or we've had a wicked performance, or we've won something, and all of those memories I can only attribute to Wenger. So now the problem is, But to make it sort of easier to understand, so I also think that when he left, it was his time to go. I think he had given us all he could give, and it was already starting to get a bit sort of bitter towards the end. So I think that he probably left just before it got a lot worse than it needed to. Now, in regards to these new managers that are coming in and they're not performing, and they're sort of letting us down, and we're not getting what we want from our team. I understand it's a process. I understand it's going to take time. I'm not expecting wonders overnight. It's just, I think for me, the biggest struggle at the moment is I don't see the direction that we're going in.
Right.
So,
Okay.
on a week to week basis. So sorry, I'm jumping a little bit ahead here, but
No, keep going. It's fine.
On a week to week basis, I'm not sure what system we're playing. I'm not sure which players are going to be playing. Now, you guys are both Chelsea fans, and we have mutual friends that are United fans, Liverpool fans.
Mm-hmm.
They could pretty much tell you at least 10 out of 11 of their starting team. I couldn't do that from week to week. And to me, that's insane. Like, I understand a new manager comes in, he has to try different players out. He has to do this, he has to do that. But at this point, Arteta's been here for a year. He shouldn't still be testing out all 11 players. We should have at least 7 or 8 players, which we know these guys are going to be starting every week.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I think also when I think of Arsenal where they are right now with their fan base, I think because they've kind of grown up on Wenger. That's why I kind of started it with your association with Arsenal. I think you've only known Wenger your whole life, so you've never really had to look beyond that for so long. And you know, as like you said, Chelsea fans, we're used to managers coming in, doing a little something, hopefully winning a trophy. If they don't win, they're out. So we've gotten used to that now. And for us, it's not as important for us to know what is our next team going to be, but it is identifying where our weaknesses are. And if the manager doesn't address it, that's when we kind of lose it and we start to question. And this is why we had such a problem with manager like Sarri, manager like Villas-Boas. But I feel like with Arsenal, there is a lack of identity. And I think you'd agree as well that there's no real, forward-thinking direction. And I think that's where the confusion comes in. And when you compare that to what you had with Wenger, you very much knew what you were getting with Wenger. He might have changed a system here and there, but you knew you were getting free-flowing football. And towards the end, obviously, the last 5-6 years, you knew you were a bit leaky in your defense, but you knew that you were going to score goals, and he could sort of guarantee top 4. Not towards the end, but I mean certainly during the more difficult time. So what I wanted to kind of grasp is, do you see Arteta as a manager that can grow into that sort of mold where you think, okay, he knows what he's doing. He's training these players to perform certain ways and training their ability, maybe to press, maybe to form a defensive shape, or get them to position them properly. Do you see that direction going, or is it very much is the frustration very much with just the results right now?
I think that the main aspect of what you just said, and I think the most interesting question of what you've just said, or the most interesting statement of what you just brought up, is, does he know what he's doing? Right now,
yeah.
He says he does, and he's made us believe he does, right? Or that he did at least. Now, what worries me is that we as a club, so as far as I've known Arsenal, I can't speak from before I started properly getting into football. Before that, we may have been completely different, and I can't say I'm the most knowledgeable person before my time of what Arsenal used to be like. But during my time, I do watch every game. I do go to quite a lot of games. I'm quite engaged with the club. Now, as far as I can remember back, we've always been free-flowing, attacking football. Yes, we've always let in goals. We haven't had a great defense for 10, 15 years, probably. Maybe 15 is an exaggeration. We haven't had a good defense for 10 years. So I've always expected us to sort of have that, that Argentina mentality where, okay, you can score 2, but we'll score 3. And that's
so top heavy, basically.
Top heavy. And we've always been top heavy. And I accept that. And that's been our downfall, because we can't keep the ball out of our goal. But we're always a threat going the other way. What worries me with Arteta now is that it's sort of not going either way, because yes, we're a bit better defensively, but at the same time, there's nothing going forward, right?
Yeah.
And what sort of alerts me more to that is I was reading something today, and you just spoke about this, this free flowing pressing system. I'm pretty sure I read today we're the 16th or 17th rank in the league for pressing.
Right.
So opponents are getting more time on we're 16th in number of how much time the opposition are getting on the ball. So who are we pressing? Where are we pressing from? Where is this? Because I don't see it, and I watch every game. So I feel like we're giving him blind faith. Also, this is his first job. If he's gone somewhere before and we've seen him start slowly and then he gets into it, he gets his players, and then he starts rocking and rolling, no problem, I understand. But he doesn't have that resume. So we're going on blind faith. Now, that's difficult for me to do, especially with the board that we have and the team that we have, because I don't feel like any side is pushing in a particular direction. I feel like the players are happy just going week by week. Whether they lose, they lose. If they win, they win. It's weak mentalities. The board also, I feel like they're not interested in winning the top trophies. All they're interested in is lining their pockets and making as much money as they can.
Yeah.
I understand it's a business,
we'll get onto the board, because I think that's a whole thing that I think is a real problem. But I think with regards to Arteta itself, it's very what we talk about week in, week out with Lampard, it's so similar to kind of what you just said with Arteta. Because I think, young managers and, certainly managers with associations, personal associations with clubs, there's such a kind of struggle with a balance between, do I want to give him time because I have a personal affection towards him, or do I actually see something that he can pull off as a manager, and tactically, is he someone that I feel can take us forward? And when you put Arteta and Lampard side by side, I think you can agree as well. Like, there were moments last season where Arsenal did play really good football. They kind of formed this identity of being a defensive team because of the way he set them up, three at the back and what have you. But kind of with Lampard, where it's difficult because I feel personally our individuals are taking us forward. And I think because of the sort of club we are, it's not really manager centric. It's more having the quality on the pitch to win games and kind of achieve short term targets. Whereas I feel with Arsenal, it's I don't know what's changed so much between the point that he came in and instilled so much confidence and bred so much confidence between among the players and the fans. And like I said, tactically, you guys were very decent last season. You obviously won the FA Cup. Thanks for that, by the way. But
no problem.
Yeah. So what I kind of, to put a positive spin on all of this, I'll try my best, but I think you guys have some very decent players. And I think the quality of certain players that you have in certain positions is of a very high standard. Now, if you're looking up, you've got Leicester, Everton and Southampton in the top six. Now, granted, it probably won't end like that come the end of the season. So when you look at your team, you've got Thomas Partey, who's, for me, a world-class defensive midfielder who can also, is technically good enough to join the attack or certainly contribute to the final third. You've got Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who is one of the best strikers in the league. You've got Bernard Leno, who's turned out to be a fantastic goalkeeper. Kieran Tierney, who I think is going to be one of the best left-backs in the country soon. You've got Nicolas Pepe. I know, Bellerin is one of those that splits the fans. So when push comes to shove, who do you think the blame rests with if Arsenal are not achieving the results that they need? And what do you think that means for the future as well?
It's a good question. So I personally think everyone has a share of the blame. And I think within that's the biggest problem within itself, because what happens is, for example, if you have a very good manager and the players aren't performing, then you can blame the players. But if you have a very, very good team, and then, so for example, Chelsea, you guys have a really good team at the moment, right? So, and if you're not performing, then it's very easy to point the finger at Lampard, because you're saying, okay, well, you've got a wicked team, but the manager can't get the tactics right. but the board has given him full faith, and they said, who do you need, how much do you need, and when do you want it? And they've done that. Our problem is sort of everything is very fragmented. It's like the legs don't know what the head is thinking. So what's happening is that I feel like, and again, I know I'm coming back onto the board again, but it's in relation to the answer to your question, because I don't think it's just the players or just the manager or just even the board. I think it's a combination of all three things. I just think there's no direction. We don't know which way we're going in. Are we challenging for trophies? Are we happy to be just top four? Or are we just a cup team now? Or are we just a fashion company? We're just selling tracksuits. So I don't think anybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, I get that. For me, from the outside, it's always felt like Arsenal are always a couple of players away from being quite a dangerous team. Because I think when you have the philosophy as a club of being an attack-minded team, you know, the attack will always take care of itself. But I think if you have a someone who can come in and say, okay, this defender will make, you know, this good, and that defender will make that good, then, you know, that kind of the fear of having another London team coming and kind of giving us a run for our money. And I know Arsenal have finished above us a couple of times in the last decade, but it always felt like Arsenal just didn't have that extra leader or the person that could wake the players around them up, because I think there's so much potential. And I talked about, you know, looking up, there's Leicester, Everton, Southampton. Now, they're nowhere near the level of club that Arsenal are. So, you know, to fulfill that potential, you need the right structure. And you were talking about the owners, which I'm going to get on in a sec. But where does the first fix need to be? What needs to be fixed before, you know, you can start saying, okay, we have the right person to identify the right player that will make us a better team? Because, you know, like I said, it's very difficult to discard Arsenal as a big club. Maybe they're not getting the results. Maybe they've not won the big trophies. But there's always the chance that there will be a spark, you know. And I've not seen that in the last 10 years, but there can certainly be that. But where will that come from, in your opinion?
I think the quickest fix, maybe not the easiest, but the quickest fix would be I don't know, this is something I noticed as an Arsenal fan, is that every season, and like you said, what you said was quite accurate, we're always 1 or 2 or 3 players away from challenging. Maybe not challenging for the league, but challenging for the top 4 at least. The fact that challenging for the top 4 is now a thing is also beyond me, but that's completely separate, because I don't see why we're all trying to compete for the top 4. You should either be trying to win the league or nothing, personally, but that's a whole separate issue within itself. But what we always say, we're 2 or 3 players away from challenging for that top 4 place to get back into the Champions League. So now the thing is, every season we go out and sign, we always only get one key signing or one marquee signing, and then the rest is just sort of filler or padding around it. It's sort of, we'll get players that we kind of need in a certain position, but not the exact one that we want. We'll go for the cheap budget option. So if that's the case, I would rather the board just say, look, guys, to the fans, look, for the next, or the director of football even, doesn't have to be the board, whoever's taking care of this stuff, just says, look, guys, I'm sorry, for the next 3 years, we're not going to sign anybody for any amount of money. It will just be loan signings and free agents. And then after that, after the 3rd year, we're going to go and we'll buy 4 or 5 first team starters who are 50, 60 million pound players each, because we've spent no money in the last 3 years. And then at that point, then we can jump a lot higher, a lot quicker, right? But that never happens. We always feel like we're just trickling a player in here and there, or, you know, like we're having a marquee signing just to appease the fans, so that the season tickets get renewed and fans start coming back and they don't start protesting and kicking up a fuss. Now, I'll give you an example. So we signed Pepe last season. I think it was last season or the season before. I can't remember.
Remind me how much he cost again. Sorry.
This is the point, right? So he was 72 million. Now, I'll be completely honest. He's performed like maybe a 30 million pound player so far, right? I hate saying it because I genuinely had high expectations.
I have to play devil's advocate. He is a very talented player.
Yeah.
You and me both know he's a guy that's capable of scoring a lot of goals, being a very dangerous player coming off the right. He's obviously not being played as much as he should, in my opinion. But I don't think you got that wrong. This is where my argument is. I think your recruitment is decent. and I think you have the potential to have better recruits than say Leicester, who are doing really well. But where is that? Where's the problem? Because you have Stan Kroenke, who I know how Arsenal fans feel about him. If people don't know, he's also the owner of the LA Rams, an NFL team. But he doesn't seem to really show much of an interest, and we can have a longer discussion about them specifically. But in terms of pinpointing where it's going wrong, primarily, in my opinion, that's where it is. There's lack of communication and there's lack of real passion from the top. So you're not really seeing it on the pitch at the same time.
Yeah, but this is again going back to what I said earlier, right? Like, what is the goal?
Yeah.
What is it? I would like to know what the goal is. But you have any business, you start anything new, you always have a business plan. You have a mission statement. You have something so that everybody knows that they're moving in the same direction, which I think is basically what you were just trying to get to. But I don't know what that is, and I could speak to a lot of Arsenal fans, and no one knows what that is. We get told random bits of information, but I don't actually know what the actual mission statement is. You speak to Man City, you speak to Liverpool owners or any fans, they will tell you our goal is to win the league, win the Champions League every season, year in, year out, right? And that's okay. You don't have to win it every season, but as long as you're challenging up and around the places. Now, you also said that our recruitment hasn't been so bad. Now, tell me this. Who do you think is going to finish in the first 6 places at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think Leicester will probably finish there. I'm not too sure about Southampton. Everton could. It's all injury dependent. But I think for me, Leicester's probably the only one that is, for me, certain in the top 6.
Okay, so I would go in no particular order. Liverpool, City, United, Chelsea. That's 4.
Spurs.
Leicester 5. Spurs 6. Now that's in no particular order.
Yeah.
Right. Out of all of those 6 teams I've just mentioned, who do we have a better 11 than?
Probably.
Maybe Leicester at a push.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I believe that within myself. I think maybe I think there's probably better. At best case, it might be even.
Yeah.
But they have a manager who's been there for years and a manager who has a track record and proven experience and knows how to manage a team. So how can our recruitment be that? How can our recruitment be good when we don't have a top 6? We're not the 7th biggest club in England. Revenue wise, commercially, we're not. So why have we not even got the 7th best team? Even that 6th, there might even be a 7th. Everton might slightly maybe be on par with us.
Yeah.
And we've spent more money than most of these teams, right? So that's where I maybe don't agree with your point of our recruitment is good, because how can it be if we haven't got the 6th or 7th or 8th best team in the league? Yeah. People are telling me our formation is 3-4-3. I don't see it that way. To me, it looks like a 5-2-3, because the wing backs don't get far enough up, or often enough anyway. Then we've got the 2 in the middle who are both holding midfielders, and then we've got the 3 who are so far ahead of the 2 in the middle that's what we're missing. We're missing that connection in between, someone to flow the ball through. And then what's happening is what we're realizing now is that Aubameyang is a bit of a confidence player, which I didn't know before this season. But when he's scoring and when he's up for it and when he's getting good support and he's in the mood for it, he'll get you goals. But when he's also in a slump, that's going to continue. And we've seen that this season. But I also don't feel like I can blame him specifically, because you're looking at what chances he's getting. Any clear-cut chances this season have been going to Lacazette or to Nketiah.
Okay.
So you've got your best striker playing out on the left wing, which I completely understand, right? Because he's been playing well on the last 2 seasons, but he's not getting the ball.
Yeah, it is difficult, and I think this also goes back to kind of Arteta and where he is with a team, and then above him is obviously the recruitment and then the owners. And I think I do want to end this on a positive, because I think we should kind of do this more often and discuss where Arsenal are at, because it's such an interesting club to monitor, because there is so much potential, like I said, but for certain reasons and certain elements, it's just not getting to that next step. There seems to be a bridge, between every door that you want to open, and you have to kind of rely on players like Aubameyang to jump across and open that door. So, papering over the cracks.
Yeah, or or for example, for Bellerin to be able to take a throw in.
Yes,
That'd be very helpful for the build for build up in play, or to be able to cross
I
the
mean,
ball.
learning how to
Or for,
take a throw in, you can put any of us in, and if you give me a tenner a week, I'll learn how to do a throw in. I know that must have been quite frustrating to watch, I can imagine. But if we had to end on a positive note, what is the kind of what is the savior for you? Where do you see there being a bit of light where you can think, okay, that's an area that we can develop on? Maybe it's a formation, maybe it's a player, maybe it's your coaching or your youth. Or you have so many good young players coming through. I want to talk about Bukayo Saka another time. I want to talk about Balogun, all these guys. I know you guys have a really good, as you always have. You've always had really good youth recruitment and been able to push young players through. Where is it that you feel, okay, I can make my peace with Arsenal tonight, even if it's a bad result? What gives you, the reason to keep going?
I think, like you just mentioned, I think we have a very good crop of youth players coming up. I'm very, very happy and excited about Martinelli. Saka's also been very, very good. Reece Nelson, who I wasn't massively keen on before, is also looking better now. Joe Willock looks good. I'm happy. Tierney's not so young, but I'm happy with the purchase of him. Those are the highlights for me. What I also feel like another something else that I'm looking at in a positive way is that rather than the last few years, I think our recruitment to an extent looks like it's becoming more sensible. So what I will give to Arteta, and again, I'd like to just reiterate, I don't think I've said this yet, but I'm not Arteta in or Arteta out. I don't feel either way about it. I just want my team to do well. Whether that be with Arteta, fantastic. If it's without, then that's also okay. The team is more important. But what I feel like is we've got some players in the right positions, and what we've been doing is the recruitment that we have done. For example, Partey over the last few years, Partey, Tierney, Willian didn't make sense to me, but that's a whole separate thing. Gabriel's been really, really good at the back so far. I know he had an off game this week against Southampton, but aside from that, he's looked very positive. So the one thing I will give Arteta is he's realizing that for years and years we've needed a holding midfielder and we need a centre back, and he's plugged those holes.
Absolutely.
Now, what I'm hoping for is the board back him a little bit and say in January, you know what, here's some funds, go plug some more holes, go buy your creative midfielder, go buy a right back who can take a throw in, and then then we're moving. Then we can move forward slightly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And just taking it back as well, Arsenal have always been, like we both said, a couple of players away from doing something decent and making important moves. And hopefully it happens. Because, not having Arsenal in the top half, forget the top four, is a bit of a lonely place without you guys. So hope it comes back to how it should be, man.
Trust me, it's more lonely down here when people are telling us we're in a relegation battle.
You're worried about Brighton and them, man.
Every game is now a 6-pointer.
All right, nice one. All right, cool. We'll do this again, though. There's so much more I want to talk about, but that was our little segment with Arsenal. Rant, do you have any questions that you wanted to ask?
I do have one. You mentioned a creative midfielder and a right back that you'd like Arsenal to get. Any players that come to mind? Realistic players?
I think Aouar is realistic.
Okay.
I also think Lamptey is realistic.
Okay. You're going to take our guy like that,
I think I don't care whose guy it is. I'd be happy if he was our guy. But I genuinely think that would be there would be big inclusions to the team. And they're reasonable. I think they're affordable, and I think I'm not dreaming here. When I'm thinking about those players joining the team.
Yeah, I agree. They're realistic.
Yeah, that was the main question.
Did he get it right? Did you get the question right?
I mean, there's no answer. It's his opinion. It's an open-ended question. That's why I asked it.
All right, cool. All right. Well, that was good. That was fun. We'll definitely do it again. And come on, you Chelsea. I mean Gooners. I mean Chelsea.
Gooners.
All right,
Thank
nice
you for
one,
having me,
bro.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, so let's just move away from Arsenal for a sec, because I think given Arsenal all the clout that they need so far, I don't think they require any more. But yeah, let's talk about the game on Tuesday. We played Wolves. I think 2 days after, was it 3 days? 2 days after we played at the weekend. Yeah, I mean, obviously not a great result. We lost 2-1, but there was really nothing to really take away from that in a positive sense. It didn't feel like a game that we should have won or we should have lost. But in the end, like, I don't know, I feel like a bit of our old frailties came to the front. We didn't really perform the way we have been. We've not been great lately, in fairness, but to give away, a 1-0 lead, I thought was really poor and, not the sign of a team that you'd associate with, champions at the end of the season. What were your thoughts on it? What did you think of it, all
I quite
things
agreed
considered?
with you, what you said earlier today, where, when we lost to Everton 1-0, it was a game where we fought and it was okay because they're a tough team. It could have gone either way. But with Wolves, it was one where we really should be winning those kind of games and we just did not perform on the day. So it's quite upsetting.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we put out a team that, should be capable of winning, of scoring a goal and defending a lead. We obviously went 1-0 up through Giroud. It was a nice little goal, nice little setup by Chilwell. We did kind of create our chances, didn't really take them as usual. What's been happening the last few games was kind of representative in what happened in the first, say, 50, 60 minutes. But for some reason, the mentality just went that when Wolves equalised, when we gave away the goal, it felt very much like we weren't really there to win. It didn't feel like we were going to put the effort into, nick a result or anything. But on the other hand, I saw Wolves, and they just looked like they had the energy to, they could sense, they could smell that there's an opportunity, and that's not a good sign, honestly. Like, for a team of our caliber, of our quality, it's really not good enough. And every week we do these things and we say, "Oh, are Chelsea Premier League winning material? Do they have what it takes?" To be honest, I don't think anyone has what it takes this season. I think Liverpool winning against Spurs was probably the most resilience I've seen, the most kind of winning mentality I've seen this season. Not just against Spurs, but just generally as well. But like, I just feel it's another year where we're just letting opportunities slide, and giving away opportunities to win games. And I don't want it to become a trend. But how do you see the next few weeks going? Because we've got Arsenal coming, we've got West Ham next week, so we've got some big games
with
coming
the return
up.
of
How do you
Callum
see all of that
Hudson-Odoi
going?
and Hakim Ziyech, I think that it's a bit more hopeful. I think that we'll have that creativity that we've been seriously lacking the past couple of games. So hopefully it gets much better. I think that Ziyech is quite pivotal in how well we can create these sort of chances. Earlier you said that we lacked the sort of the drive to win. I mean, I only saw it, I think, for the first 10-15 minutes since we came back on in the second half. And then after we got the goal, it's just like everything was just switched off. It wasn't the same then. So I'm quite curious as to why that is. What is it that the players have in their minds after they score? After a goal is scored and they're ahead, that they just switch off.
Yeah, I was having this discussion with someone about Hakim Ziyech, and it's so early still in the season and in their careers just generally. For Ziyech particularly, it's great that we have him, but I just feel, we're such a different team with him and without him, and that's never a good thing. And we had Eden Hazard for so many years, and we know what he was capable of doing. He could win games by himself, and to his credit, like he used to win league titles by himself. Like, okay, the defense was great, and we had Diego Costa or whatever, but that when Eden Hazard's in your team, you have a chance of winning every single time. And luckily for us, he was fit every single game. He was there every big game. He was there. I think it was just that one season, which we don't need to speak too much about, where he kind of went missing. But generally, I'm quite concerned that Ziyech is starting to become that player for us, where if we don't have him, we struggle to find options, which is crazy, ridiculous, because we've just spent so much money on Timo Werner, on Kai Havertz. We have really good options in attack and midfield. We've got good fullbacks now, so they're adding to the attack as well. But is it concerning at all to you that we, our reliance on Hakim Ziyech, or do you think we're not, that reliant on him yet?
I saw from the
How do you
beginning
see
that I felt that Hakim Ziyech would make it so much easier to play the kind of football that we wanted to play. I had a feeling that Timo Werner, well, Kai Havertz in particular, he would need some time to really adjust. I didn't think that he would be able to do it straight away. Definitely not 3 months, 4 months into it. Not the sort of level that he's been displaying when he was at Bayer Leverkusen. Timo Werner, I think that I did kind of have a feeling that he would get to grips with it because he came so early in the summer. So it's been a bit weird in his case because he scored I think 8 goals has he scored so far? So he's managed to find the net,
he scored 8
he's
goals.
just dropped off recently. So I think Frank needs to do the same thing he's been doing for all the other players, which is if you're not performing, just stick to training, find your form, come back in when you're ready, and you're ready to play for the team at a high level.
It's difficult really at this point to, drop players like Timo Werner and Kai Havertz because they've been brought in for such big amounts, 50 million upwards for both of them. It's difficult for Lampard to justify that when, we don't really have the options. Obviously, Callum Hudson-Odoi and Ziyech were injured, so it would be Christian Pulisic and who? We don't have anyone that can, naturally play those roles. We know Mason Mount can. Kai Havertz has tried to. I don't think he's. If anything, he's been awful in the kind of right wing role. So it's difficult to kind of pinpoint where exactly the replacements come in. On the other hand, are we a more effective team with Timo Werner up front? Absolutely. Do we change the system to adapt to him? Can you see that sort of being our way out? Because we saw last season we changed, to so many systems. We tried the 4-2-3-1, we tried 4-3-3, we tried 3-4-3. I just felt, on Tuesday we could have kind of adapted to our situation and not been overly reliant on Timo Werner, who, in my opinion, is not great out wide. He's not a good. He doesn't really have the intelligence or the technical ability to pass and knock the ball around and get into more dangerous spaces. I think he's at his best when the ball is played forward to him and he can run onto it and kind of have the space to make those decisions. I don't think he's particularly a winger. If you compare him to the likes of Raheem Sterling or Sadio Mane, he certainly can't play to that level of passability or dribbling ability where he can, get the ball into a dangerous space. Do you think changing the system may help when we don't have players like Ziyech or Pulisic or
You've
Callum?
just named all of our wingers right there, so you can't play a system like that to begin with. I don't even think it's necessarily about Timo Werner, but the situation we have right now. I mean, Pulisic, you can't really depend on him even when he has just come back from injury, because he's just come back, and if he gets injured, then that's just going to make it even worse. So you have to change.
How do you counter those situations?
You work on your strengths. So I think we should have employed a wing-back system again because Reece James and Ben Chilwell are quite capable of attacking as well as defending. And I think maybe a 3-5-2 would have been good because I've said it, before the start of the season. I think that Giroud and Werner would work really well together. But potentially, a big man, little man, like you have in Inter Milan with Lukaku and Martinez.
Yeah. So, I mean, in that sense, would you go to 5-3-2 or do you go 3-4-3? How do you see, kind of Lampard employing that system? And who plays in that sense? Mm-hmm. So, say we take 2 strikers up front. It's basically 3-5-2 or it's 5-3-2, whatever it is. Who plays in the midfield for you in that sense?
As the holding midfielder, I'd have N'Golo Kante. I'd keep him there. And then besides him, I'd have Mason Mount and Mateo Kovacic. I'm just
Okay.
doing the I'm counting all the places in my head. So that would be my midfield, and of course you have Reece James and Ben Chilwell as the right wing back and left wing back.
Right. So going forward, there needs to be a way that we kind of counter these problems. It was quite annoying because he persisted with Werner out wide, and it was clearly not working. It wasn't working in the first minute. It wasn't working in the last game.
Yeah.
It hasn't been working. He just doesn't play well over there. So, if he continues to persist with this system with those same players, thinking that something might change, and we continue to lose or we continue to get a poor result, where does that leave Lampard? Because we've got an owner who's just splashed out £200+ million on players. He's not. There's never been the expectation that we can go and win the league this season or the Champions League or a big trophy. But at the same time, the danger of missing out on European football next season, I think, is very dangerous, and it puts Lampard in quite a pressure situation. Can you kind of see Lampard being the sort to change everything now? Because I think we've established that 4-3-3 is where he wants to build us, how he wants to build us. If it continues like this, how do you see it going in terms of his position? Do you think his position is under threat? Do you think, if we drop to, I don't know, mid-table or below mid-table, do you see the board kind of growing frustrated and kind of starting to make plans for the next man? Or do you think the club are just going to persist with it?
Firstly, I don't think that it'll get to the point where he needs to make changes to what he has earlier this season, because Hudson-Odoi and Ziyech, they've returned from their injury. But if they were,
okay, I'll stop you right there. I'll stop you right there, because you say that and then they'll play and then they'll get injured again, because that's what's been happening with Callum and Christian. They've both been getting injured. Every time they come back, they seem to play a couple of games and then they're out again. Mm-hmm. So we can't rely on them. We clearly can't rely on them. And if anything, we should probably look at who we can bring in January, because it's not possible. Either we change the system completely, where we only go back to 4-3-3 when Callum and Pulisic are completely fit and ready to play, or we go forward with this, with a formation change. But just steering back, about Lampard's position, what do you think of that?
Somewhere like mid-table, as you're saying, I can't see the board allowing that to happen. Letting it continue with Frank. So,
do you think they sack him if he doesn't make top 4 this season?
It's a tricky one. Because it is dependent. It's dependent on how injured are the players. If it is anything that he could have done about it, as such. Mm-hmm.
I'll throw another example at you. If you look at Liverpool, okay, they've got their front three. They don't have Van Dijk. They've missed Alisson for a few weeks, who's now back. They were without Trent Alexander-Arnold for a few weeks. Joe Gomez is injured out for the rest of the season. Matip is in and out of the team, so they've had to make do with Fabinho. I even saw Henderson last game playing centre back, but they're getting results. They're top of the league. They're getting results. So where does that leave us? Because in that sense, Frank doesn't really have a leg to stand on.
Frank's position to one of Klopp's, where the players, they've had time to build chemistry, they've had time to play together, they've won stuff together. So I think that it's not fair to really compare them to Liverpool, who are already ahead in the race to begin with. I understand that the injury problems, they aren't even then way worse for Liverpool, but I don't think that it's one you can really compare, just because of how much they have already formed their play style and had the time to gel, really. So to answer your question, I think that if we don't get Champions League spot for next season, I think he will be sacked. As this is just based off the idea that we may have some injuries, not something which is completely detrimental to the team where we can't even perform at all. Just standard uncertainty, but if there is such a thing. But yeah, I think he will if we don't make Champions League spot.
Okay, well, I'll go to the age-old question: is if we do sack him, another week has gone by, and there's always new opinions. Lucien Favre got sacked from Dortmund. He's obviously a very attack-minded manager. He's worked in Germany, so he knows players like Timo Werner and that sort of philosophy. Maybe he can get the best out of them. There's obviously Julian Nagelsmann that gets mentioned all the time. Who do you think is ideal? To come in, say we miss out on top four, and we don't even have Europa. Maybe we're just next season playing one game a week. Who's the ideal person for you to come in and fix his team and get them playing good again and getting us points on the board?
There's many talented managers right now. I think the best one I could think of, it would be Pochettino, who's available.
He's the kind of ideal, not really ideal, but the obvious one.
Yeah, he's an obvious candidate, but I don't. Yeah, I think there are quite a few managers who could do it. It would just depend on the system and what they want to bring to the club.
Yeah,
I think that's dependent. We know how we've heard about how good Frank is at his presentations. To play what he wants to produce at the club that he wants to manage. So it would have to be something along those lines, where if they're able to impress the board more than anything, then they'll get in. That's what it is.
Okay. Well, yeah. Like I said, we've got West Ham next week. It's another must-win game. I think every game is a must-win when you're 6 points off the top, especially around the Christmas time. Injuries start piling up and the games start piling up. Champions League. I think we can do another one on Champions League in another episode. But this was interesting. What do you think of the West Ham game? Do you think it's going to be another tough test, or do you see that going quite easy? How do you see it?
Hopefully, our wingers are back to full fitness, and we can play them. We can play the style that we want to, and then I think that when we were playing the system that we enjoy, we're so good, and I loved watching it. So hopefully we can do that, and then we can be reminded of how good the system actually works when it does.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, well, that was just a little segment on the Wolves, post Wolves and pre West Ham. Nothing really new to report, but I hope it picks up and we get going again. Hopefully Ziyech and the rest are fit and see us through the New Year games. But yeah, that was good. And we'll do maybe a post West Ham or pre West Ham. I don't know. I'm really uninspired at the moment because of the result on Tuesday. But
just a quick mention that the rumors have started again about Declan Rice.
Here we go. I'm here for it, man. I hope we sign him. I really like the guy. I think he's top quality leader and great on the pitch, and he was great against Crystal Palace yesterday or the day before, whatever it was. So,
but give it to me honestly. With the best team, starting 11 that we can play right now. All right. Do you think he would start in that team?
I think he would certainly push Kante. I think we have such a long schedule, man. But people don't realize how difficult playing at a high level without having a real backup player to support people in different positions can be. And I think, especially where Kante is playing, and knowing Kante suffered a lot of injuries last season, I think it's extremely important that we get Rice in, because I don't want the next option to be Billy Gilmore or Jorginho. As talented as they are, this is a physical game that we're playing, and we're not playing in a system that where we sit back. We're playing in a system where we have to defend high. And I just think the way Declan Rice plays, he covers ground so quickly, like Kante. He's technically very good because he's a good passer. He's long range, short range. He surges with the ball forward. So I just think if something happens to Kante, if he drops form, if he gets injured, we have a ready-made replacement. And I just feel for the future as well, if we get Declan Rice in now, he's benefiting us not just for the future, but obviously now as well. I should have done that the other way, but I think he is definitely for the future. So he might not get a lot of game time in the next 12 months, 18 months, but when it comes time to switch over and, Kante has to hand over the baton, I don't think there's anyone better to take that baton from him, honestly.
Seems to fit that. Seems to be the piece.
He's just got Chelsea to the core, in terms of his work rate and energy, and just constantly. He's so resilient, but he's also so aggressive and always on the front foot. Always wants to be proactive and make things happen. So, let's see how it goes. I think he'll deliver another good performance next week. Hopefully not, but I can see Declan definitely happen in January. but you know, we'll have to wait for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. A bit of positive,
Yeah.
bit of positivity here.
Can't wait. Gonna be great.
Oh, gonna be great.
All right, I think that wraps up
All right.
our Chelsea segment. We've done the Arsenal segment, which was a lot of fun. So yeah, I'll catch you on the next one.
See you on the next one.
Safe.
Nice.
Bye.
Bye.
You do.